Today is a pretty exciting day. You can't see it, but right in here, we're going to be doing a whole heck of a lot of work. It's going to allow us to, of course, turbo the car. That means we've got to move the battery, and I have to finalize the intake system. Well, if you've never seen a battery relocation, we're going to move this battery to the trunk, and there's a lot more to it than you think. So let me show you how to do that today. Because it's a BMW, it has all kinds of funky size hoses. This one is the one that would connect into the throttle body, like that. And then our valve cover vent goes here, and our idle control valve goes here. But obviously when you put this on, you can see it doesn't work. It doesn't work, it goes over that. So we've got ourselves a bunch of other hoses here. And because these are funky sizes, we just kind of have to make it work. So this is a 3-inch to a 3-inch, which this is probably bigger than a 3-inch.
You must be joking.
But it's what we're going to use. So we have our air temperature sensor here, and we're going to actually put holes in this aluminum to house the idle control valve and the vent. So that's the plan. We're going to make this come out here like this, and then because all the rest of the intake is 2.5, we've got 3-inch to 2.5-inch, which will go into here. And this will run down there and house our air filter. So I think that is the plan at the moment. So right now I'm just marking these up to see where I have to cut them in order for them to work properly. So this one here has to get cut right around there, and then it'll pop right on there. So we'll cut that first. All right, so we got a hose clamp wrapped around here to try to make this cut as clean as possible. These hoses are like 60 bucks a piece.
So don't screw it up.
That's not what you want. That's why we put the hose clamp on it, but we can clean it up. Now I'm gonna pull this out.
Excuse me while I whip this out.
And we're gonna flip it around so it's facing that direction. And then it'll lay right on top of here.
Say what now?
So next we've got this. I'm probably gonna have to cut it down as again. Plan is to go basically like that. So this needs to fit in here, but we also need to put in ports for this and that. So we'll have to work on this piece next. And this is a mega tight fit.
That's what she said.
Fit right there. Well, now we're gonna have to shave this one down to size so it can go that way. All right, so I have marked where I want to put my holes here. We want to put one here, and we're gonna put one here, and one of them is going to be for the idle control valve, and the other one is going to be for the vent. So we just got to put holes in there, stick our grommets in, and then run hose.
There's some hoes in this house.
All right, now we got something. So we have our intake replumbed. There is our air filter. Goes down here, goes up to a 3-inch pipe, which is that one right there, and then into the intake. Needless to say, none of this is hose clamped down yet or anything. And there are a few things that will be moving eventually. I don't like that it's pinching the fuel regulator intake. So we'll probably modify. We're going to be using a different fuel regulator anyways at some point, and it might be relocated. Here we have our valve cover vent right here. That's going to eventually connect to here. I just don't have the hose just yet. And then over here on the other side, we got our idle control valve, which will connect here. And this is our temperature sensor. And we didn't clamp any of this down yet or anything like that, but it's ready to at least test. And it's not in the way of our wasted spark anymore. So I'm happy with it. We're gonna go ahead and relocate that battery. Anyone who's familiar with these cars knows these trunks are huge.
That's a big one.
So we are going to mount our battery in the spare tire well because, well, we're not using the bottle cap wheels. I don't have 5 BBS wheels. So this fits in there real nice. We get some strap down for it and we're all set. Just got to wire it up. All right, so right down here is the original battery box. And what we're going to do is we're going to mount our positive terminal right here, totally out of the way, and it won't interfere with anything. That might be a temporary location, but for now that's where I want it to be. Now the negative ground is right here and the negative cable is right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut this cable and we're going to put a connector on it and we're going to connect it to that ground. So we're good to go. We don't have to do much there. We're going to cut the positive cable and of course all these other cables associated with it. We're going to put it on the terminal along with all of these wires as well that were on the old battery cable. And then we're just going to run obviously the cable from here all the way to the back of the car in the trunk. We'll be all set.
2 hours later.
So all of our positive cables are hooked up. This is the original one. Now has a new connector on it. And all of the stuff that was connected to the positive terminal is here. Negative cable is here to the original chassis ground right here. So all that's left is to run a cable that's going to connect to here from the actual battery. We're going to run that cable right there. And I believe I'm going to run it through here and down along the frame rails. And it's going to go in where the wires go in for the fuel pump. So we should be able to secure it pretty easily. I've got stuff to secure it with. Won't move around or chafe or anything.
What the deuce?
So we have our negative terminal all tied in right here. That is actually the tie down that used to be used for the spare tire, no longer needed. To put all this stuff back in, I had to pull the jack out and stuff just to adjust everything. But we've got that ready to go. We've got our positive cable ready to go. It's just time to finish button up the front. Okay, so our front post is completed. It's on there, it's not going anywhere. I will be putting a cap on here to keep it from something falling on it and somehow magically getting grounded. But I like how that worked out. That's nice. The wire runs down here, and over here you can see that there is nothing hanging down.
Nothing up my sleeve.
All the wires are tied up and secured under the rails. Now I think eventually, if I have to pull the seats out, I'll go ahead and run that wire inside the car, maybe. But for now, I really like how it turned out. Just have to button up in here a little bit. We have wire running from the fender well area in there into the trunk. Very clean. It's not even gonna rub on anything. Well, I guess it might rub on
These nuts.
So we can zip tie it down, keep it out of the way. And then in the trunk, we've got our ground right here, going to our ground wire over there, going to our power wire right here. We do not yet have this tied down.
Well, we're waiting.
We are getting a mounting system to tie that battery down, but I don't have it yet. If I'm being honest, it's really not going anywhere. But a mounting system is the right thing to do, so we're going to do that. The last thing I have to do, put a bow on this little project, is to go ahead and put all the clamps on my temporary intake and tie it down so everything is ready to go. So I'm going to finalize that, and then we're going to be ready to test fire and see if everything went okay.
8 hours later.
Alright, so for those of you asking, why don't I have hose clamps on here? Well, the nature of the way that this pipe is, this is a 3-inch pipe, which is the exact same outside diameter as this. It's buried in more than an inch. It was nearly impossible to get in.
Giggity googa!
So I can't imagine this is going to get blown off.
Oh no.
As long as we are not running turbo, which right now we're not. Why didn't I hose clamp this? Well, this hose is buried to here. All the way up here. So there's 4 inches.
4 inches is fine.
Of this hose over that tube. And I'm not too concerned that that's going to get blown off either. So that's why I didn't hose clamp either of those two. We got these two done. This one done. Seems to be on there pretty good. It's not going anywhere. This is done. We should definitely check to make sure the hood will close. But I have one more. I got to connect this hose here. So let's do that.
2 hours later.
Well, there we go. Looks like everything is ready to rock. Okay, so the final piece of the puzzle here is our battery tray. And that fits real nice right in there. And then it has a tie down. It'll go right on top of it. So the nice thing about this battery tray is it has these little slits so you can easily add bolts and stuff to mount it and all that kind of stuff. So what I'm going to do is drill some holes, add some bolts, make sure that this isn't going anywhere. Then we're going to strap our battery down and be done with this whole battery moving process. I'm going to try to use a marker that's going to write on this. Chances are I don't actually have one. And it doesn't fit in there anyway.
That's what she said.
Well, delivery's all wrong. He's butchering it.
Alright, I can see those now. Right there. Probably right there. Oh, and right there. So we've got our marks. Just need to drill our holes. So we're having problems with our car idling properly because I don't think it's actually breathing right. The idle control valve is using this hose because of course it's in a different location than it was originally, so we can't use the original hose. So it comes out of the intake and then goes like this and then like this. And as you can see, that introduces 2 kinks in this hose.
Bros before hoes, my man.
And that's just not going to work. That's causing all kinds of intake problems that we're having, I think, which is causing a poor idle. So we're going to attempt to fix this by actually molding this hose properly.
Don't touch me.
And what we're going to do is we're going to use these. Now these are copper tube benders. So you would put your copper tube in here and you'd be able to bend it without kinking it and all that good stuff.
Unkink the hose.
What we're going to do is we're going to use this inside this hose, like that. And we're going to put the bends we need in the hose, and you can see the hose doesn't collapse with this. So we're going to use the heat gun to heat up the hose, then we're going to bend it into the proper shape.
Oh, wow!
Well, we're getting closer, but we got a long way to go.
Who's we? You got a turd in your pocket?
Now, it took quite a bit of time to get this hose to bend even just this much.
You blew it, boy! You really blew it!
However, when we go ahead and put it in there, we can see that it's basically giving us exactly what we were looking for.
What an idiot!
We're getting this coming out right here, exactly how we wanted it. And if it moves around a little bit or something, it's not going to pinch the hose.
Not this again!
So the next piece that I need to do, let's go ahead and put this on here so you can see how this runs. So that lays in there like that. And so you can see we're not going to pinch any hoses. It comes out exactly where it should. And then this goes on here. And we have a hose that's going to run from here to here, which is this one right here. So it runs from there to there. So what I want to do with this hose is I want to give that some bends as well.
Much later.
We now have the hose in here, and there are no kinks. It's bent properly, and it feels pretty good. I like how that turned out.
Really? Nothing.
We're gonna have to eventually create a way to mount this like this, and there's plenty of bend in there without any kinks. And so probably when we put the wasted spark bracket back in here, I'll just create something that's gonna hold this like that, so it's not rubbing against the head.
Giggity.
And then over here, we're all set up. Everything looks to be in proper tip-top order. So we're gonna go ahead and hope that we fixed our issue. We'll see. And that'll probably work for now. Sure. Is it janky? Yep.
What the hell is that?
It'll keep it off the manifold and keep everything in place. Sharp-eyed people are going to analyze this and see maybe a lot more than what I showed you in the video, which gives you a little bit of a sneak peek as to what's actually coming. But why would I spend all this time and energy and money on this piece of crap that isn't worth anything?
I give up, play.
Well, it could only be for the love of cars. This is one of my dream cars, and I'm sure you have one too. And maybe you see it parked in a field
Down by the river!
Well, go ask that guy how much it cost, pick that car up, bring it home, and put it back on the road and have some fun. It's really not that hard. If this moron can figure it out, I know you can too. You know what? I'll see you in the next video.